Now that Kyler Murray seems to be on his way out, it begs the question. Did Kyler Murray get a fair shot? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. Today, very simply, amid all the groans that I'm sure that I'm hearing, did Kyler Murray get a fair shot? We'll discuss both sides, okay? The Arizona Cardinals aren't necessarily a hotbed haven to elevate players to an MVP level over the course of their time. What we've seen is players who are on the precipice of that go elsewhere and, thrive. Okay. Tyrann Mathieu. That's just the first name that always comes up in my head. I don't know why. There's so many, but that's one. Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald, Kurt Warner came here, resurrected his career. Carson Palmer came out of retirement, played here or whatever. Like, it was fine. Did Kyler Murray get a fair shot? So let's go with the yes part first. 7 years. 7 seasons. Sure. Missed half because of a torn ACL, missed more than half with his injury this past year. So say 5 seasons, 5.5 seasons. Yes, he had it. Sure. Kliff Kingsbury had no experience and wasn't a very good head coach, but they tailored an offense for Kyler Murray. They had James Conner. They had Zach Ertz. They had DeAndre Hopkins. Had a good defense, pretty good defense. The offensive line wasn't awful. I know that the post-Rodney Hudson time wasn't great when you had Max Garcia and Sean Harlow playing center. But by and large, the Cardinals had pretty good rosters. Starting 7-0 and 10-2. Don't even win your own division. They didn't even win their own division when they were 10-2. That's crazy. And they get embarrassed in the playoffs, and the underhand pick 6 from the goal line from inside their own end zone was the flashbulb memory that everybody has from that game. Kyler Murray, yes, saved the Cardinals in many instances and won games for the Cardinals they had no business winning. The Raiders game in week 2 or week 3, I think that was in 2022. Even his rookie year, first game ever. They were down at halftime. Kliff was quoted as kind of jokingly saying, I thought I was going to get fired at halftime. And Kyler puts them on their back, throws a couple touchdown passes in the second half. They go to overtime, and Tremaine Brock, who was playing safety at the time, had an interception thrown to him by Matthew Stafford, and it hit him in the chest and hit the ground in overtime. And the Cardinals would have won the game. It started that way. But did he get a fair shot? Yeah. Yes. He got paid, which is something that, say he made a Pro Bowl say he made, 4 or 5 Pro Bowls, okay? And they still didn't win a playoff game. People would always point to the money. It's like, well, look, he got paid all this money. He's supposed to be better. That's kind of a fallacy at this point, unfortunately, although it's rooted in rational thought. But overall, did he get a fair shot, even with all the dysfunction and turmoil surrounding just Michael Bidwell as a person and Steve Keim's ineptitude in the draft and things like that? Yeah. He got a fair shot. This isn't like, oh, poor Kyler Murray, and he's going to be like, when people talk about the reclamation projects and all that stuff with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith, Geno's a little bit smaller, I think, but I mean, Sam Darnold's 6'4". Baker Mayfield is a Tasmanian devil who will run through people regardless of if it injures him or not. And Geno Smith went to a great spot in Seattle. That was a spot thing, and he executed excellently. Playoffs almost every year. Like, he played really well. I don't know if you can group Kyler Murray in with that, because none of those, except for this year with Geno Smith, None of those three guys, since they've taken over and started, have had the valleys that Kyler Murray's had production-wise. Kyler Murray's either a top 5 quarterback or a bottom 5 quarterback. You just don't know what it's going to be and what drive you're going to see it on. So, did he get a fair shot? Yeah, he got a fair shot. Well, I'm going to debate the other side. That no, he didn't get a fair shot next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. And this year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, and they handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year. Championship, conference championship, coach of the year, MVP, most improved player. They've got them all over at FanDuel. And now not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the final. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. YouTube channel, subscribe, Everydayers Club, join, link in description. Members only Discord. Big dumb face. You know how it works. Kyler Murray did not get a fair shot because it's the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray did not get a fair shot because Kliff Kingsbury was his head coach for his first handful of years. And the most important incubation time for a young quarterback is those first couple years. Those first couple years are priceless when it comes to growth and development and evolving as a quarterback in the NFL. Kliff Kingsbury wasn't able to do that because Kliff Kingsbury wasn't a good head coach. Kliff Kingsbury was in over his skis. He was in over his head. And he had the inability to run a team and give Kyler Murray the necessary coaching and teaching and mentoring that he needed early on. So Kyler Murray just went in fight or flight mode and just went off instincts. I firmly believe that if Kyler Murray had a better head coach early on to develop him from step one, he would have made the playoffs much more, and he would have maybe been in an MVP race for more than 12 weeks. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. They didn't do much to shore up the offensive line after Rodney Hudson left. I said pretty much from snap one, because the offensive line in 2019 wasn't great, is the best offensive lineman the Arizona Cardinals have is Kyler Murray's legs. That's it. And that's what it's been for the majority of the time. Now, the Rodney Hudson year and a half was great. Rodney Hudson, man, one of the best offseason acquisitions that Steve Keim ever made. They had to trade a third-round pick for him because they didn't want to compete and spend a whole bunch of money. And then they gave him, like, he was going to retire, and they gave him a whole bunch of money to come back, and then he played like 10 minutes and then was out the whole year. Because they didn't have a contingency plan. Because they didn't draft Tyler Linderbaum. Instead, they traded for Hollywood Brown. They didn't draft Tristan Wirfs. They took Isaiah Simmons. They drafted Zaven Collins instead of taking the best offensive lineman at 17. Or what was it? 17 that year. I think Zaven Collins was 16, 17. So no, Kyler Murray didn't get a fair shot. It's because of Kliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. Kyler Murray, I think this is the best signifier. Kyler Murray hasn't gotten extraordinarily better at football since he came into the league. He's just gotten older and more mature, and he's, filled out. So he's able to take more hits, things like that. Like the natural progression of a young man getting better at football is what happened. The coaching would have skyrocketed that to the moon. This is Kyler Murray getting better on his own. The valleys are where Kliff Kingsbury didn't coach him early. And it's not all on Kliff. There's question marks about Kyler Murray and, his practice habits and all that stuff, the homework clause and all that. I know that. But it's not an original story where a young man who's playing quarterback needs to get his head snapped, proverbially speaking, by a coach saying, hey, you need to do more. More reps. More reps. And he did more after they drafted Marv. And then, they brought he flew everybody out one offseason to Texas to work out, all that stuff. He did that a couple times. But did Kyler Murray get a fair shot? No. Kliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim didn't let that happen. Not because they were like, no, we're not going to allow him to get better. No, just they were too dense to realize it. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.